Hello, everybody. So my friend Mystical Misty, who I will tag below, did a great video about consulting the Crones, which is another channel, which I will also I'll tag before. And there were these questions that she went through, and I thought, in solidarity with Misty, I would go through these questions as well. So Consulting Crones is a channel for women about my age. I'm 51. Not sure how old Misty is. But I'm definitely moving into that sort of crone age, right? I'm not in the motherhood phase anymore. My boys are 22 right now. The older one will turn 23 in November. But I'm moving into a new part of my life, so I think it's really a great idea to get some wisdom from the sisterhood of crones. So here we are. So. Question 1. What key experience has changed you as a spiritual practitioner thus far? When I think of a key experience, I think of like an event that happens, right? And so I don't know that there was ever any one event that happened that changed me because I've always been very spiritual. I was also at one time very religious. I would say I'm not religious really anymore. I'm spiritual. And to me, those are different things. But there was, I think, the point when I left the church was we were living in New Jersey, and we belonged to a very small church in the tradition in which I was raised, in the traditional Anglican church. And the minister had decided in the Anglican church, they're called priests, but they can marry. So a little bit different than Roman Catholic priests. So the priest had decided that that they were going to, at communion time, they were going to tell people who weren't Anglican that they had to leave. So because communion was supposed to be breaking of the bread of the Christian family. And that just, I don't know, it made me mad. It is exactly what Jesus would not want. Jesus, if you believe in Jesus, the loaves and fishes were distributed to everybody. It didn't matter who they were or what they believed. He was out there feeding everybody. And, he had all these reasons why this was the way that it should be done. And I just decided that was not me. This is what religion has come to, excluding people and making them feel unwelcome at the table of Christ. I didn't want any part of it. So then I kind of wandered away, and I just wandered away. My faith in Jesus never changed, but, looking over the church as I grew up in it, and, sort of the things that were held important to the people in the church had nothing to do with Jesus, had nothing to do with light and love. It had all to do with power and control. And I didn't really want a part of that. So I sort of did my own thing for the longest time, and it wasn't until I was forced to sit down. If you know me, you know I'm very busy. But I was forced to sit down because I was in an immobilizer boot from falling down a mountain, fracturing my heel, and I had to sit with my foot up. So I started looking at stuff on YouTube, and I started thinking about things. And so I think it's a series of experiences that have changed me as a spiritual practitioner, and that's kind of how I got to where I am. How do you balance your magical practices with your everyday mundane life and responsibilities? Well, I don't practice magic, so I will substitute the word spiritual practices. I forget some days. Some days I don't remember, and then I feel guilty about it, but then I remember that spirit doesn't want you to feel guilty. Just come back. It's kind of like when you're meditating, and you're meditating and you're in a great space, and all of a sudden, oh crap, I forgot to get milk at the store. You just let that thought float and move away. I mean, they're going to come. So I try to unplug from the computer at 5 o'clock when I'm done with work, because my work is very focused on computers. And so I try to step away and go and read, or journal, or meditate, or listen to spiritual music or something. I try to get a balance, and it's definitely an area of work. I think Misty said that too. Like, I'm definitely that's a work in progress, but I work on it. How are you planning on leaving a legacy? Digital memoirs, Book of Shadows, journals, etc. Well, I have a million journals. I feel sorry for my kids because A, they don't read cursive, and B, I'm not a very good steward of my journals. I have about 52 of them. I write in all of them randomly. Today I was teaching backpacking to a bunch of Girl Scout leaders, and my backpacking journal is in my one of my backpacks, and I write in that when I'm backpacking, but I haven't been backpacking for a while, so it's another journal. So if my kids ever want to assemble my journals, they're going to have to get somebody to transcribe them for them, and they're going to have to put them in order. I don't really ever think about leaving a legacy that way with stuff that I make, but I want to leave a legacy on how people feel that I've treated them. So one of my bosses, Maggie McMiniman, president at Union College, she always gave wise advice, and I assume still does. And she one time told me, she said, "It doesn't matter what people think of you when you're in the room. It's how they feel when you've left that makes a difference. And if they miss you, you did a good job." So people can be mad at you when you're in the room, but when she had left the one school that I worked for her at before she became president of the school she's at now, people were up in arms. But after she left, they're like, if Maggie were here, this wouldn't be going on. If Maggie were here, this would be better. And so I've seen that in action. And so, I want, people to think, she was kind, and she gave all of herself to help other people. So I feel like it's a living legacy. I'm sure my kids are going to have really good memories of me, and probably bad ones too. But I think, how people remember you fondly, I want people to remember me fondly. So that's the legacy I hope to leave. Have you recently started any new practices, traditions? I actually watch a lot of practices and traditions of my sisters here on YouTube. We all believe different things, and I think that's like the most beautiful thing about our little community. The community has changed over the course of time, and I'm sure it will continue to change. But, I have friends who are solid witches, who have been witches for a long time, and I learned so much from them. And, I learned an incense blend the other day from Silver Soul Fox, which was really good, and I'm going to make. I have some of the herbs, but not all of them. I did a spell, not a spell, a ritual. I call them rituals, not a spell. I did a ritual for a wedding that I did for my niece who's Wiccan, and had to learn about her tradition so I could honor it for her. And so I feel like I'm being more open-minded and learning new traditions. There are some that don't resonate with me, some that I don't understand. I'm trying to learn more about moon phases and more about crystals and stuff like that. But I get lost in that kind of stuff, and so my faith is a simple one. My spiritual practices are pretty simple, but I will say that I'm better at lighting candles after having almost lit my house on fire with one of them. But being intentional about candles and carving things into them, and intentionality, I think, is when you grow up in the church, the intention is given to you by your priest. But in the spiritual practice, the intentions are yours, and so I'm being much more intentional. What Crone wisdom would you want to share with newer practitioners from your journey? Spiritual, magical, mundane. Well, I feel like the spiritual practice that I have is pretty unique, and so I don't fall in any particular camp. I'm not a druid 100%. I would say that I mostly am druidic. I call myself a Celtic spiritualist when people ask me what I am, and I'm very tied to that Celtic heritage. And I'm very interested in the teachings of John the Apostle. I think what I would share, the wisdom I would share, is that we're all on a path, right? It's just like hiking. You're on a path. You're on a trail. Yeah, and you can pick the trail. You can create a trail. You can trailblaze. You can do whatever you want. There are going to be blue blazes on the trail. Blue blazes are like those things that go off the main trail to see a pretty vista or see water or whatever. Go to a shelter or whatever. And you can choose the blue blazes that you're willing to go down, or you can stay on the trail. But if you get lost, stop and get out your compass and get back on that main trail, whatever your end terminus is. If that's the end terminus is death of this physical life, that's your end terminus. If it's a particular goal that you have, and don't let other people decide what your path is going to be. In the church that I grew up in, was very, very conservative. So people told you what you had to do. You had to wear a thing on your head. You had to do this. Girls couldn't do that, and all this stuff. And so when you're raised in that sort of environment where people are telling you what can and cannot be done, you don't get to choose for yourself what can and cannot be done. And so I don't like that. I like to be able to choose. And then when you meet people in the spiritual community, just remember that you all have a different terminus, you have a different trail, you have a different path, and your job is not to get them to be on your path, and your job is not to go onto their path. Your job is to shed light, and then everybody's paths are illuminated. And learn, I think, to say goodbye to the things that do not serve you, I would say, is probably the best advice I can give you. Sometimes that's people. Sometimes it's a process. Sometimes it's a belief system. Journal it out, or whatever, meditate it out, whatever works for you, and get back on your path. And kind of take time to think about, what is my path? Like, what do I want my path to be? My path, I know it sounds cheesy, is about light and love. How can I share light and love in this world as an ambassador of goodwill and kindness, from the God that I believe in, and Jesus, Mary, and the archangels, Archangel Michael. How can I be ambassador of light? So many bad things have happened at the hands of Christians. How can I be a representative that's not every Christian that you're going to meet? There are Christians who are kind and who are not out here to judge you or to convert you or whatever, right? So if you are Christian, the advice I would give you is that Christians are going to tell you that you have fallen off the path, and then the pagan community, the witchcraft community, the others, what I call the spiritual others, they aren't always as welcoming either, because they don't like Christians. So your path can feel very lonely sometimes, but you're strong enough, and you have spirit on your side, so you can do it. How has your view of self-care changed over the years? How do you practice self-care? I'm a very, very, very busy person. I do a lot of things, and people are always like, "Oh, you're so busy all the time. How do you do it?" Well, I'm not. I say no to a lot more than I do, to be honest, and I'm a lot less busy now than I was 20 years ago. I've always liked to be busy. I like to do a lot of different things. I have a lot of interests. I'm very interested in things, but right now, the self-care I'm learning is to say no to more things, and to just do the things that I like, and to be around people that I enjoy. I have had a great career. I have a great career. I've done a lot in my career. I don't have to prove myself. I don't have to publish anymore. I don't have to present anymore. So I just pick and choose the presentations and things that I want to do, the writings I want to do, the committees I want to do. In my spiritual practice, I do the things that resonate with me, and I invite people to join me, but I'm okay if they don't. And I take a lot of baths. I take a lot of. I have a jacuzzi tub, and I when I'm starting to feel off balance, I check my schedule. I make sure that I'm on top of it, and then I take a bath and I listen to music. How has your practice helped you navigate through the changes in your life, physical, mental, or magical? I don't know that I've ever thought about that, to be honest, and I could sit here and think about it for a while, but then we'll all have to sit here while I think about it. I'll have to think about that. My faith has always been very solid, my Christian faith in Jesus and the teachings of Jesus, to love thy neighbor as thyself, and as the first commandment, to help others, and to be a resource for others. So I think that's been a constant. I think I'm going to develop what it's going to help me navigate into my crone years, because I'm still in my mind 29 years old, and that I'm becoming a crone. That's a whole different thing. So I don't know. How does your seasonal practices look like, and has that changed over time? It does. I never used to celebrate the Eightfold Wheel. I've been celebrating the Eightfold Wheel since 2020. So for the past 4 years, that's an addition to my life, and I absolutely love doing it. I love honoring. I mostly focus on the Druidic and Scottish understanding of the wheel, which is a little bit different than the pagan or Wiccan or witchcraft view of the wheel. And it's really brought a lot of meaning and a lot of intentionality to what I do, and I really like it. Do you have any daily routines that help you stay interested and connected to the things and the people you enjoy? When I wake up every morning, I have to do my test for my diabetes, and I step on the scale, and then I try to set an intention word for the day, and I try to read a rune, and then I try to connect with people that I really enjoy. I am very busy, and I tend to not... I've had the same friends my entire life. I have, just a handful of best friends that I've grown up with, and I have a few friends that I've met as an adult, and I always say that they're the inner circle. It's probably a failing of mine, but I don't allow a lot of people in that inner circle, because people come and go. People are either in your life for a reason or a season, and sometimes you have to let them go, and so... so I tend to just keep my circle close, and that way I'm enjoying what I'm doing with them. Have you noticed any ability shifts, better divination, magical results, clear card readings? I think I read cards, and I read runes mostly, and that's definitely gotten clearer over time, and I think I'm better at doing it. What are some common misconceptions about spiritual practices you encounter? Do you address them? Are you living in the closet? I don't live in the closet. People think I'm a witch. I get tired of telling them I'm not, because I have infinite respect for witches, pagans, and other world practices. And in 1792 or 1694 or 1492 or 1507, I would have just been considered a witch anyway. It wouldn't have mattered what I called myself, because if you work with herbs, if you work with intentionality, if you work with divination, people who want to label you are going to label you. So I really feel like you can't worry about what people think about you. You have to worry about what you think about you. And, people are going to like you or hate you. They're going to decide what they think of you. And there really isn't anything you can do to control that. Once people, if people hate you, they're going to hate you. And that's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do about it, because it's really on them. And you can ask yourself, you can beat yourself up and say, well, why do they think that? Why do they think that about me? Why do they think I'm not genuine? Well, are you not genuine? If you are genuine, then the problem is theirs. It's not yours. So, I don't address them. I've encountered, my Tootsie Rolls. I've encountered spiritual bullies. I've encountered people who are absolutely fake. And, and they may have lots and lots of followers here or none, but they're, it's all bullshit. They just want to buy stuff and unpack a box. And that's okay. That's their path. That's what they're doing. That's no judgment for me. But it's not edifying, so I just walk away. I don't feel like I need to address it with them, because they might be narcissistic. They might be, self-centered or whatever. But I'm not their boss. They don't have to listen to me. And I just let that energy go. I let those people out of my life. As quickly as they come, they can go. I lived 51 years without them. I can live another 51. So it's all right. I don't live in the closet. I do what I do. Everybody knows everybody who knows me. It's funny, because people will be like, can you, pray for me, or can you, pull some runes for me? And they're in the closet, but I'm not. Where do you see your spirituality practices going in the future? I don't know. In becoming a crone, what are your dreams for the future? Retirement, travel. I want to. Can't retire for another 15 years, but my husband and I want to travel the country in a Winnebago where I can play bagpipes and hike, and he can go fishing. And we want to see all 50 states, and I would like to go back to Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and all of the Celtic nations, Isle of Man, Galatia, and I'd like to go to Iceland and back to Canada. And I just want to travel, and I love learning cultures. I love learning all the different cultures, and I would love to learn more about our indigenous people here in the United States. I just really enjoy learning about cultures and learning about traditions, and I feel like we keep all of those traditions alive by having a cultural shared memory of them. But it's better to talk to people in person, or to talk to them one-on-one, online or in person, than read it in a history book where the person writing it may have a slanted view of it. History is usually written by the victors, and all kinds of false information is shared. So anyway, I think those are the questions, and thank you, Mystical Misty, for inspiring me to do this. I thought it was really interesting. Follow Misty and follow the Consulting Crones. They're both linked below, and I am wishing you all the very best in light and love. Be well. Bye-bye.